Alright, in January, we are going to celebrate the 3-month anniversary of the FBI and the U.S. establishment not doing shit about the investigation I completed concerning the Naugatuck State Forest Incident that you could find on this website. This exposes that the establishment is not only knowledgeable of these crimes, but they are also responsible for these crimes and furthermore attempting to cover up these crimes. And if someone like me attempts to expose this, the establishment uses all their power to silence, discredit, or kill the individual. The establishment in America today is less a government and more a cult who has spent billions of dollars creating a media facade, an illusion, an artificial reality where they get to play the good guys in front of the camera while participating in all forms of ritualistic murder in secret. So I've exposed them, and after 3 months of waiting for them to act, they have proven that not one solitary government agency or department has the character or goodwill to investigate the Naugatuck State Forest Incident or the Vatican Hill locations. The reason being, at the very least, they are acting in sync with the perpetrators of these crimes. I now want to expose another character involved in the Naugatuck State Forest Incident. As previously reported, when I located the human tibia along the bank of the Peat Swamp Reservoir, I called the Ansonia Police Department and was brushed off by a cop who incorrectly identified the human tibia as a deer bone. At that point, I didn't want to argue with the cop, so I walked back up to Haddad Road, where I saw 2 individuals pulling up on scene. By their mannerisms, I guessed that they were plainclothes detectives in an unmarked police car, and I only got a look at the man in the passenger seat as I walked past him and up the road. I believe that he is this same individual who was seen on the news, interviewed as a federal agent, in part responsible for catching Eric Frein, who allegedly killed a state police officer in a shooting spree. I have reason to believe that the whole Eric Frein shooting was just another media fabrication that the establishment often invents to help paint themselves as good guys. If interested, please view the Eric Frein report that I also have on this website. So as I was walking down Haddad Road, away from that location, this man arrived on scene in what looked like an unmarked police car. His window was down, and he stared at me as he drove up and parked behind the police car. I guessed that he was a detective who was also called down to identify the bone. At that point, I hoped that the police had told me it was a deer bone just to get me out of the area so they could investigate the scene. However, it is now very clear that the Ansonia Police Department had placed that bone at that location for unknown reasons, and when I returned there the next day to see if they took it for testing, I found it still there. Once again, to hear the whole story, see the documentary entitled The Naugatuck State Forest Incident. The only other update on the Naugatuck State Forest Incident is that on November 14th of 2014, a lady called me up. She identified herself as an activist and an advocate for missing and exploited children. After our phone call, I believe that she is just another agent. If you are interested, I will have the details of that conversation on a video called Agent Dina Delaney. So to be very clear, the establishment, the FBI, and their controlled media choose very carefully what they will broadcast to the world and what they will completely ignore. They haven't spent billions of dollars buying up all the news publications and television stations to create a monopoly control of information, just to allow random stories to find their way in front of millions of viewers. The whole point of buying up every TV station to have complete control over the media is to maintain that control by only allowing the stories they want the American public to be made aware of. This is completely obvious and is called propaganda. And propaganda means to only publicize stories that are favorable to the power structure. They are not going to report the news in an objective way. They are only going to report the news in a self-serving way that paints them to be the omniscient good guys at all times. The more corrupt the government is, the more need for propaganda. And so at this point, the whole U.S. media is one big fabrication and propaganda outfit. Aside from the brief report here and there, you cannot trust one thing the U.S. media tells you. It's almost all lies, cover stories, distractions, and imitations. Everything on the TV is totally controlled. Nothing makes it on the TV that isn't pre-approved. They do this, of course, to keep the majority of you asleep, so you don't find out that your government is run by a pack of lying, thieving, murdering cowards in line with an ancient cult called the Vatican. A cult that our founding mothers and fathers fought desperately to free ourselves from. Our country was founded on a division of church and state because the founders knew how the church, also known as the Vatican, ran the old world countries without even a hint of freedom. And now the current U.S. government consists of either ignorant puppets or corrupt people who are working with the old world power structure to undo over 200 years of our country's development. So I want to state once more for the record that if a big story is on the news, it's only because the power structure wants you to focus your attention on that story. Now, with their inflated military budget, combined with what is called the black budget, which is the U.S. military establishment turning to criminal business dealings to further bankroll themselves. They do this, for example, with CIA drug dealing, secret weapons deals, human trafficking, child pornography, and snuff films. Furthermore, they are funded by powerful corporations and technology firms, so they essentially have all the money of the Western civilization at their disposal. And they have used all this money, technology, and power to set up a police state spy grid on the American people. When you hear that the CIA is only allowed to spy on foreign countries, that is the biggest lie out of the agency. At home, all the CIA military police state does is spy on and control their own country and civilians. That is what the Patriot Act was about. It is the military police state hacking all of your computers, tapping all of your phones, reading all your emails, looking at all your private things. They follow the American people around, infiltrating any and every political party, activist group, or social organization. If you have a hopscotch club in Central Park, the CIA wants in. The Vatican CIA does not want America to form any individual groups outside their network of control. They don't want anyone to have any independent ideas, thoughts, or beliefs. They want every American's only source of information to be them, the CIA. The Vatican doesn't want you to stray from their herd. The last time the people broke off from them, America was formed. And that is why we are under attack now, so nobody will break off from the Vatican death cult again. With that being said, I'm not trying to disrespect any of you for protesting the Michael Brown shooting. Protesting and exercising your right to a free assembly is always good, but I want to go into detail about what this is truly about and what is truly happening with this Michael Brown protest. First, this is a giant media event, so the whole establishment supports you getting involved and focusing all of your attention on this issue while other issues are being covered up. This is the same type of controlled protest as the Occupy Wall Street movement. The government has picked out another incident they want you to focus your attention on by hyping it up in the media, so it becomes a media circus with several acts in a theatrical play. First, Michael Brown gets shot by the police and dies. Then new facts and testimony are released concerning the event. Then everyone wonders what the court decision will be concerning indicting the police officer for the shooting. Then talk of a riot gets started. People start boarding up their stores and preparing for the worst. Next, rumors are spread of the KKK facing off against the Black Panthers and the all-so-popular government-sponsored race war. Then the court's decision will be released later tonight, just in time for the 10 o'clock news. Will the cop be indicted, or won't he? So it becomes a way for the establishment to distract and control the American people. They give you something to protest and vent your frustrations on, while it's all designed that no matter what the outcome is, nothing really happens in the end. It's all been arranged by the establishment that there are very little demands on the government. So what is this cheap demand by the people's protest in the Michael Brown shooting? At best, the public is asking for one cop to be fired for shooting Michael Brown. So that's the most radical change the public can hope for. One cop being transferred somewhere else. That isn't much, ladies and gentlemen. But that's exactly the establishment plan, that no matter what happens with this scenario, there will be very little change to their system and business will go on exactly the same as before. Nothing will be learned. Nothing will be realized. Nothing will be changed and nothing will be accomplished. So the whole city is boarded up. Supposedly, firearm sales are up 300%. Everyone is expecting a riot if this cop is kept on duty. So the whole city could go up in flames. And what does the establishment decide? They'll rather run the risk of the city rioting and the whole town burning down than to fire one rookie piece of shit cop for killing a civilian. So that's how much the establishment cares about you and your children's safety and the city where you all live. Even though that cop could always get a new job, his good establishment buddies could always get him a job handing out parking tickets in Florida, for example. The establishment can do whatever they want to remedy this issue. But to expose to you just how important the city's safety is, the establishment would prefer risking the destruction of their entire city instead of transferring one fucking cop. Now, does that sound like the decision of calm, rational minds? What's more trouble for society? One guy changing his job or the whole city going up in flames? Well, the serial killer cult member power structure would rather run the risk of the city going up in a blaze than to transfer one of their employees around. Now why? So they get to play the good guys if you all decide to riot. They get to play the peacekeepers, the necessary and well-funded police state designed to keep all of you in line. So first they start this whole shit up, they fuel the fire, and when the public acts crazy out of being placed in a desperate, no-win situation, the cops get to legally beat your ass and kill you and throw you in jail and then look like they were the good guys all along. But instead of killing one Michael Brown, they got to kill a whole city of Michael Browns.